As we enter the latter stages of the bull market, we have a lot to talk about. I think that all of the big players are trying to shake us out before our last leg up, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing exactly that and how you should be navigating these markets. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So taking a look at the Bitcoin chart here, we can see that we swept the highs, and if we don't count the wicks, this level 106.2K has acted as resistance for Bitcoin. Now, all of these lines over here were previously yellow, but as we started passing them, I was tagging them as blue, marking a completed checkpoint. Now we can see that we once again fell below the 104K level, and we are now below the 102K level. So I will be marking these back into yellow. And the next main area of support that we're looking at would be the 100K mark. Now, we've been above 100K for quite a few days now, so it wouldn't surprise me if once we tap into this, we get another little bounce. Before we move on higher, we need to see some more consolidation for Bitcoin, and it was never going to be an easy task to just explode to the upside. Now, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be as brutal as last year where we had that range for 7 months that Bitcoin was stuck in, but I do think that we do require a little bit more patience. And I know altcoins are really suffering here. And something else that's causing them to struggle a lot is that there seems to be a new kind of coin launching, grabbing most of the attention every single day. Today's coin that actually launched was the Vine coin, which is now sitting at a $300 million market cap. So the post came directly from the Vine creator, and he just left a contract address on Twitter. And of course, this pumped like crazy. Now, in the meantime, this is again removing a lot of liquidity from other altcoins as Bitcoin kind of just chops around. Now, you don't need me to remind you, if Bitcoin does go below 100K here and it acts as resistance, it will be absolutely brutal for altcoins. So it's very important that you keep this in mind when it comes to making any kind of trades, especially with leverage. And to Bitcoin dominance, once again, we are still going to the upside. I saw a recent comment on my video talking about the fact that since Bitcoin dominance continues to skyrocket, does it mean that we won't have a true altcoin season? I don't think that's the case. I think we will have an altcoin season, but again, it was never going to be easy, and you just need a little bit of patience. Bitcoin dominance has been in an uptrend basically since 2022. We are now in 2025, and I think that we are approaching the end of this uptrend. Now, I did mention in a previous video that it's likely we could bounce around here and make a new high for Bitcoin dominance. It certainly wouldn't be outside of possibilities, and what you want to look for here is to start actually dollar cost averaging into your favorite altcoins that have been holding up well. There's no sense in picking altcoins that have been absolutely drowning against Bitcoin, so make sure that you're paying attention to the altcoin on their Bitcoin valuation. If it's showing sustained strength against Bitcoin, it's likely to perform well once we get this Bitcoin dominance collapse. And I think that we will get this relatively soon. Now, I know it's been a while since we've seen Bitcoin dominance plummeting, but just to give you a little bit of a refresher, this is what it looks like. And the reason why I'm telling you to maybe consider dollar cost averaging into more altcoins should we make a higher high here is because you don't want to be getting into altcoin as dominance is plummeting, but rather be positioned before it actually happens. Now, no one knows how high this can go, but a good guess could be a potential double top around the 62% dominance, maybe making a higher high. But ultimately, I do think that Bitcoin dominance will resolve much lower and we will get an altcoin season. Now, looking at the total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, we are now at a crucial support level, and we held these levels in December of last year. Now, if we were to break below this, I would expect us to perhaps revisit the $930 billion mark, hold it as support before we move on higher. I know it can get exhausting, but I think that the big players are just shaking us out. And one of the reasons I believe this to be true is because the stock market has already put in a new all-time high. So what is crypto waiting on? Now, the funny thing is the stock market ended up retracing the entire inauguration move, but crypto was holding up relatively well. So you would expect it to bounce up faster than the stock market, but this hasn't been the case. And one of the reasons, once again, is Ethereum's weakness against Bitcoin. I've said it once, I'll say it again, Ethereum determines the rest of the altcoin market, and I put out an analogy for this on my X account. And that is that Ethereum is essentially a beach ball being held underwater. As much as you might not want to believe it, this beach ball directly determines how well the rest of the altcoin market will perform. It's been like this historically, and I still think this is the case. Of course, Solana has been performing much better than Ethereum over the course of this cycle, but Ethereum is the true indicator as to when the other altcoins will pump. And yes, that also includes Solana. For example, if Ethereum were to go to $5,000 to $7,000, which a lot of analysts have as targets for this bull market, Solana could potentially go to $1,000 in this instant. Now, one of the reasons why I made this analogy is because World Liberty Financial, which is Trump's company, continues to aggressively accumulate ETH, and Trump, our first ever crypto president, is in office. Do you really think that the bull market would be over here? Why would they be aggressively accumulating Ethereum? The stock market is at all-time highs. Ethereum is still bleeding, and the rest of the altcoin market is still bleeding. In my opinion, it's only a matter of time before this beach ball that is Ethereum explodes and takes the rest of the altcoin market with it. As we took a look at World Liberty Financial's holdings, they hold a ton of Ethereum, just under $200 million worth, and they've also been accumulating Bitcoin at these levels. As we can see here, Bitcoin Magazine just put out that President Donald Trump's World Liberty Financial purchased another $10 million in wrapped Bitcoin. Why would they be accumulating Bitcoin at $100,000? Big players tend to determine the market. If crypto was going to go much lower from here, do you really think they would be accumulating at these levels? I don't think so. And another reason why I'm particularly bullish on Ethereum, which will drive the rest of the altcoin market forward into 2025, is I'm starting to see these kinds of tweets on Twitter. Sentiment is bad because it's been down only for literally 3 years versus Bitcoin. Yes, of course, that's what happens in the early stages of the bull market, especially when we are in quantitative tightening. As soon as we shifted to quantitative easing, I showed you in previous videos, the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation essentially skyrocketed, dragging the rest of the altcoin market with it. And yes, of course, the Ethereum USD valuation skyrocketed as well. Now, Bitcoin Charlie here is likely a little bit of a Bitcoin maxi, so I won't blame his view on this, but saying that it's over for Ethereum is completely wrong. And Alex Becker seems to think otherwise as well. AI and RWA are where huge whale money will go into crypto. They need to be on a fully decentralized chain. Their future is on ETH and its layer 2s. This will drive it well past 10K. Position aggressively. Now, I don't necessarily think that Ethereum has to hit $10,000 this cycle, although with the kind of institutional accumulation that we've been seeing, particularly with Trump's company, World Liberty Financial, and BlackRock, of course, with the Ethereum spot ETFs, I do think that Ethereum will likely see much more upside. And sorry, not to make this video all about Ethereum, guys, but the reason I'm talking about it so much is because, again, it determines the rest of the altcoin market. Of course, there's some shit coins that can always outperform and dump and pump and dump, but to have a sustained altcoin season where we're looking at something like this, where Bitcoin dominance plummets, Ethereum in particular needs to lead the way and take a lot of market share away from Bitcoin. And I found one of my favorite analysis that I saw on Twitter today. This is a little bit longer and more informative, so bear with me here. I'll try to get through it quickly. Something very interesting is happening in the markets right now. Bitcoin is flat, Ethereum is weak, alts are weaker, all whilst there is massive momentum building for crypto all over the world, and more announcements of positive developments are being released every day, such as, for example, the SEC putting together a crypto task force, World Liberty Financial accumulating more Bitcoin, the Bitcoin spot ETFs getting more and more inflows, etc. To me, this feels like a purposeful holding down of the wider market, hence the beach ball analogy that I talked about earlier. The powers that pull the strings know exactly what they are about to do with crypto and how hard they're going to send it. I honestly wouldn't count out the idea that ETH is being suppressed right now. Think about it. Any average Joes that want to change their lives aren't holding Bitcoin, they're holding alts. And it's likely that a lot of you watching this channel are also holding alts, which is why it's been such a tricky market to navigate, because while Bitcoin remains relatively flat, altcoins have been continuing to bleed. And again, just a little side note, this is why I always recommend to have most of your portfolio in Bitcoin, because it gives you most of the upside while minimizing your downside risk. At least this is something you can implement in the next bull market. The whole time ETH is grinding down, the more and more weaker alts become. And yes, we've seen this across the entire charts. The longer this goes on, the more the fear creeps in, the more posts you see about the top, about ETH being dead, like the one I just showed you, about crypto being done, and how about the fact that this time it's different, which is causing people to give up and sell. Guys, you have to understand the system we live in is designed to keep you poor and keep you working. BlackRock and the US government are not going to go out of their way to make you rich. In fact, they employ many measures all the times that does the exact opposite of that. So now that they are deeply involved in the market, you can bet your bottom dollar that they are doing everything they can to shake out as many of you as they can and acquire as much ETH and large alts as possible while systematically shaking everyone out. The game is rigged and only the strongest of us make it through this emotional bombardment. I can't say for sure what's happening behind the scenes, but put it this way, the largest institutions in the world and the president of the USA did not buy massive amounts of ETH just to have it go down, which is what we've been talking about on the channel. Why would he be accumulating ETH so aggressively? It simply would not make sense if the cycle top would be in right now. Everything in this game is a psyop, and it makes total sense that the biggest emotional test would happen before the biggest part of the run. The charts are clear, zoom out. And speaking of the charts, I have one for you, zooming out and looking at the bigger picture of Bitcoin. We can see that historically across all of the bull market cycles, Bitcoin peaked in Q4 of the post-halving year. Here we have November 2013, December 2017, and November 2021. Now the first halving, 2012, post-halving year 2013, we peaked in November of the post-halving year. Then the next halving in 2016, in the post-halving year, December 2017, we marked a top and entered a bear market. Then we had the following Bitcoin halving in 2021. The market cycle peaked in the post-halving year, Q4, November. Now, where are we in relation to this? Well, we had the halving in 2024, and this would suggest that if we are to peak in the post-halving year once again, if history rhymes, it would be somewhere around October to December 2025, hence this chart that I put out. So it's very easy to manage your emotions when you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, and I would highly recommend that you do this. To me, while I think that we are in the latter stages of the bull market, there is still upside, and history is in our favor. Now, as it pertains to trading, if you want to trade any of the cryptocurrencies that I usually talk about on this channel, or if you want to be positioned before Bitcoin ends up making its next leg higher, I would highly recommend that you sign up to Weeks, which is one of the top exchanges in the crypto industry. If you use my link, which is the first link in my description, you can earn up to $20,000 in bonuses. Make sure to sign up, link down below. And that sums up today's video. I know the altcoin market is getting absolutely wrecked, and it can potentially continue, but it's very important that you zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Ethereum will finally have its moment, and the rest of the altcoin market will perform. As I showed you with a couple data points in this video, I think that the market is simply just getting suppressed before we end up moving much higher. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.